It's Sunday, August 25th, 2019. I wanted to make a quick video this evening. There are some real concerning events unfolding right now as I make this video. Dow Jones Futures is down about 230 points. It was down about 300 points a little earlier this evening. Right now, it's bounced back. It's down about 230. Gold is up about $20 an ounce. Silver is up about 30 cents per ounce. People out there that are telling you that there's nothing to be worried about, there's nothing to be concerned about, these people are lying to you. This trade war with China is intensifying. It's getting very, very serious. But not only that, that is only part of the problem. The massive problem here in America that nobody wants to talk about, that your friends don't want to talk about, that your family don't want to talk about, that the media doesn't want to talk about, that the business analysts and the business shows don't want to talk about is the massive debt here in America. We have a very serious trade war unfolding, and we have massive debt that we cannot fix. Get ready and get prepared because things are just beginning. As most of you are aware of, on Friday, this president raised the tariffs again on China. China responded on Saturday, calling this barbaric, saying that they will fight till the end, saying that they will get the last laugh. So this is a real threat by China, and I believe that this thing is going to get very, very serious. As most of us know, many people out there are in complete denial, living in their little bubbles, that nothing's wrong. They're scared because they know something's wrong. I don't care who you are. If you cannot figure out that there is something wrong with this economy, you are really, I mean, you need help. August had more swings than any other month since December, when we had that meltdown, when we had that economic meltdown at the end of December. So this August was very volatile, and we are going to continue to see volatility in these markets. You know, one of the big reasons why we're in this trade war with China, it has a lot to do with our own doing. And what I mean by that is, you know, U.S. corporations sold America out. These treasonous corporations sold you and I out. I love capitalism. I believe in capitalism, but there is a thing called crony capitalism, and it is pure greed. And we have these crony capitalists running these corporations here in America, and they sold us out. They took millions of manufacturing jobs and shipped them to Asia, shipped them to China. All these American goods and services that we have here in America are made by foreigners. They're made by people over in Asia. They're made with slave labor. As these corporations sent millions of our jobs over to China and Asia to use slave labor, you know, it's funny how America is so opposed to slavery, yet we embrace it and endorse it every day we go to Walmart. Every time we buy a product from China, we're embracing and endorsing slavery. You know, look at, for example, let's just say Nike making gym shoes over in China and then bringing them back here and selling them to you for $200 or $300. Yet they're paying somebody a couple cups of rice a day or a couple dollars to make these shoes. And yet they're coming back here and selling them to you at huge profits. These CEOs are multi-millionaires and billionaires because of this greed. And so has this really helped America as we've lost millions upon millions of jobs? You know, in the beginning, everybody thought it was going to be really cool to save money and go to Walmart. It was so cool. But what circled all the way around is, what went full circle was your job went over to Asia so that you could have that Walmart. And now what's happening is people can't even afford to shop at Walmart because those same people who thought it was so cool to buy these cheap products from Asia, their job landed up going over to China. And now they don't have a job, or they're making much, much less money today, and they can barely afford to shop at Walmart. And so this whole thing has gone full circle. And it sounded great in the beginning to, you know, have Walmarts and buy these discounted products, and you're going to save all this money. But the problem is, if you don't have a real job to make real money, you can't afford to even buy the products. And so who's getting rich? The CEOs and these corporations. and the Chinese. And thanks to America, we've made China now a superpower. Let's talk a little bit about the tariffs right now where we're at. The 250 billion in Chinese imports on Friday, that was raised from a 25% tariff to 30%. That goes in effect October 1st. On the other 300 billion Chinese products, that went from 10% to 15%. That goes into effect in September. So we are in a real trade war now. We are going to see, I'm sure, retaliation, and I think tomorrow will be a very interesting day on the stock market. Again, as we see futures way down, we see the metals way up. And so this is telling me it's going to be a very, very ugly day on Wall Street tomorrow. But who knows? The plunge protection team could get involved. This government has a lot of tricks up their sleeves, so we'll see what they do tomorrow in order to counter it. But I believe we're going to see an ugly day tomorrow. There was an article today on stevequayle.com featuring Gerald Celente and a few other people in the article. But I want to kind of paraphrase through this article. And it makes a lot of sense of where we're at today, and it really makes you think about your financial security. No bank will survive in its present form. People need to seriously think about whether they should lend the bank any money. Bail-ins are a possibility. What collateral do you have from the bank when you deposit your hard-earned money? You get a piece of paper, a slip, saying you lent us this money, but there's no guarantee you'll get it back. If this bank gets into trouble, there's a bail-in, there's a bank run, good luck. Banks are leveraged 10 to 50 times. How can anyone deposit money with them without taking any form of security? And when you really think about that, it is really risky to be putting money in a bank. I truly believe that you should have the bare minimum, enough to cover your bills. If you have a safety deposit box at your bank, you need to get it out. I believe that is very, very dangerous. And I think that you're much better dealing with small local banks or credit unions. So be very careful with depositing money at banks. When the bank's credit losses increase, the central banks will crank up the printing presses again. This time, it will not have the same effect. You can't solve debt with more debt. So true. And that's exactly what got us into this mess. And they believe that's what's going to get us out of this mess. Think about that. The only way the system gets fixed is by letting the whole system burn to the ground. The sick banks and corporations will burn and allow the healthy ones to grow and develop. The problem, however, is when the debt implodes. So will all assets that were inflated by this debt. I mean, this is really unavoidable. Mathematically, this is not going to continue forever. It's on borrowed time. And for the people out there that think that this is going to be avoided without pain, you're completely wrong. This country is going to feel massive pain. The debt is huge. There's going to be major defaults. Asset prices are going to revalue, and they're going to be much less than they are today. The stock market is completely overpriced. It's a bubble. The real estate market, overpriced bubble. We are going to see multiple bubbles pop. We're going to get a reevaluation of these asset values, and they're going to be much less than what they are today. So be very, very careful. We will all witness the biggest wealth destruction in history. Every crisis has opportunity. Listen to this. Get rid of all bubble assets and buy hard assets. As we progress farther into this recession, we have really, really got to be protecting ourselves. And there's a lot of things that we've got to protect ourselves from. As most of you know, we are witnessing negative interest rates in Europe right now. If you deposit money in a bank, you're going to pay the bank to deposit your money into their bank. You're going to pay them. You're paying them to lend them your money. In some parts of Europe, if it's a certain amount of money, a higher amount of money, you're going to be charged a negative rate because it's a higher amount of money. We've seen confiscation of wealth throughout the world. We've seen bail-ins take place. We know that rates are going to zero here in America. Quite possibly they will go to negative here. We are witnessing a food shortage. Canned goods, we're seeing a shortage of canned goods, of vegetables because of what has transpired in the Midwest and the floods and the weather. We've already seen a bailout here in America back in '08. We saw a bailout, but what is the possibility that we could see a bail-in? We cannot rule anything out. We never thought we would see a bailout back in 2008. They said that was impossible, too big to fail. The economy was doing just fine, and then all of a sudden we had a crash and we had a multi-trillion-dollar bailout. What's the possibility now that we could see a bail-in? I think it's much higher than most people think. How about a pension meltdown? You know, most pensions in America are unfunded. And now that we're cutting rates down to zero, these pensions are in the market? They must have interest. They need to be making interest, and interest rates are going down. They're getting cut down. So how are these pensions going to stay afloat as we are cutting interest rates farther and farther down to zero and beyond? How are these pensions going to stay afloat? I believe that we will see riots in America. We're going to see violence really take place in America. And this is another reminder. When we look at Hong Kong, why we must protect and why we have the Second Amendment and why it is so valuable to America. Forget about shooting cans and hunting and target practice. We know why we have the Second Amendment. Take a look at Hong Kong, okay? This is why we have the Second Amendment. And so as we continue to see violence, as we continue to see tyrannical governments across the world, this is a reminder to every one of you why you better put security at the forefront and why we better never allow the most sacred amendment of them all, because it protects all of them, the second, why we better never allow that to be taken away, because if that goes, all the amendments go. A lot of people believe that the Federal Reserve is going to come in and save this economy. The Federal Reserve is going to ride in on their white horse and save America from this economic collapse. That couldn't be further from the truth. The reason we're going to have this collapse is because of the Federal Reserve and the trillions and trillions of massive amounts of money that they printed. The central banks have papered over the economy's troubles with a massive injection of debt. The coming collapse is overdue. It's coming. It won't be stopped. And they're going to try to get out of it with more quantitative easing and more money printing. The same thing that got us into this is what they're going to use to try and get us out of it. But by doing that, they are going to devalue the US dollar to nothing. And we're going to see massive hyperinflation take place. We will see social unrest take place. We're going to see things we never thought possible here in the United States of America. This isn't about trade wars and tariffs. It's about massive debt. And who created that massive debt? It was the Federal Reserve. So I'm going to wrap this video up. Before I go, I want to go over one article with you that I read this morning on Zero Hedge, and it was talking about letters that the IRS is sending to crypto traders. It says that the IRS is using the information provided by third-party systems such as crypto exchanges and payment systems. The IRS has been able to determine the amount traders owe and included the amounts in dollars in the notices. That's on Zero Hedge. Check that out. As most of you know, I'm a big fan of real hard assets like gold and silver, the two most undervalued assets in the entire world. I believe this is the time to make sure you are getting out of these overvalued, bubbled assets and getting into hard, tangible assets like gold and silver. I have nothing against cryptos. If that's your thing, so be it. Go for it. But I believe that the safest and most undervalued assets in the entire world right now are gold and silver. This is what the central banks are looking at. This is what countries around the world are looking at. This is what China's looking at. This is what they're all doing. They're hoarding gold. They're hoarding silver. Take a look at JP Morgan. Again, nothing wrong with cryptocurrencies, but I believe that the safest place to be is gold and silver. I believe that those are the two most undervalued assets and the safest assets you can possibly be in. And I believe that a lot of people would agree with that. I believe this is the time to make sure you are getting out of these bubble bubble assets and getting into the real assets, gold and silver. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. I'm going to leave it right there. Again, many people have commented down below what's a good place to buy. I have a link down below, SD Bullion. This is where I buy. This is where I've been buying. And you know why? Because the people in the comments down below told me SD Bullion was a great place to buy. And so my last 5, 6, 7 purchases have been by SD Bullion solely. The prices have been great. The service has been great. So I'm not here to sell you that you need to buy from SD Bullion. What I do believe is you need to be making sure that you are buying gold and silver or silver right now. These are the two assets that I believe are the most important. So for the trolls out there and the haters, look, I don't work for SD Bullion. I don't work for anybody but myself, okay? I'm an independent contractor. I work for myself. I don't sell metals. I don't sell guns. You know, if I tell you to buy a gun, does that mean I work for a gun company? If I tell you to go buy dry food, does that mean I work for a dry food company? I don't work for a dry food company. I believe you should be buying dry food. You should be putting water away. I don't work for a water company. I believe you should be buying gold and silver. I don't work for a gold or silver company. But I do endorse the idea because I believe it's one of the most important things you can own, just like owning a firearm, owning and having that security, owning food and water. I don't sell any of these things, okay? But I believe you should have them. If you're on a boat, I think you should have a life jacket. I don't work for a life jacket company. I'm just giving you what I believe is good advice. It's what I'm doing. I believe that these metals are still on sale. Look, nothing big has even happened yet. We have not had a black swan event. We haven't had a collapse yet. Imagine what is going to happen. If you do not get them now, you will not get them when these events happen. You will get outpriced. You will be completely priced out of these metals markets. And there just isn't enough metal out there to go around. Right now, you can still get it. As things continue to get worse, they will get harder to get and prices will go up. Not saying that we're not going to see pullbacks happening here and there. Of course we will. But right now, I believe they're on sale. And I believe you're making a big mistake if you're not acquiring precious metals right now. I don't care where you get them from. Get them from somebody reputable, but make sure you're getting them. Have a wonderful evening. God bless every one of you. Thanks for watching. Make sure you share this video with everybody and make sure you subscribe.